Hey guys, Ryu here with another video for Blender, and in this one we're gonna be designing a simple scene for this sci-fi generator. If you would like to learn how to model it, we're going to be releasing a tutorial on our Blender Bros coaching and community on February, and this is gonna be February content. So if you join us there, you'll be able to access these files and videos. Let's talk about this scene. So first of all, what I would like to do is I would like to add a plane, because that's going to give us some kind of a ground to, refer to, right? So plane, let's go to side view and we're going to drop it down. So somewhere here, and I want to make sure that it actually touches the tires, okay? Kind of like that. So scale it up. And then we're going to Control A and apply scale. And then we're going to solidify it down a bit with hard ops, Alt M, and yeah, don't have a heart attack. There's a lot of mods running in here, and black mod. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger in Control Apply Scale. Cool. Also, let me just turn on the screencast keys. Now, what I want to do is I want to add a human to that scene to kind of create a feeling of scale. All right, and give it some kind of a story that something is happening, something is being mended, repaired, etc. Now I'm gonna be using a pack by Jama, and Jama has some sensational stuff on his Gumroad. I'm gonna leave a link to his Gumroad in the video description if you're interested. There are a few packs for sci-fi like these guys, the Apocalypse collection, and it's really cool. Some Marines, etc. I'm using actually this pack with Max, the Max Squad. It's quite expensive, I know, but you're getting 6 mechs and 2 kind of like vehicles. And you can learn a lot from just simply studying these models, or you can just go ahead and use these characters, the pre-post. It's an incredible pack, so I highly recommend you have a look at that. The quality is also amazing. They come in 2K and 4K, and you can just simply drag and drop them into your scene. It's brilliant. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab this girl here, and I'm gonna Control C her, and I'm gonna drop her somewhere here. Boom. My truck is already being scaled, so I don't have to do really much about it. I'm just gonna drop her down here, so she's on the floor, and let's just drop her on the floor so she's not sinking. There we go, that's better. And I'm gonna rotate her around here, right, and bring her somewhere here, okay, right. So she's kind of opening, some sort of a door here, or this hatch. So I'm going to borrow this element, and I'm gonna Shift D and bring it up here. Why? I'm going to remove the mirror because we don't need it, and I'm going to move this one here and RX 90 and RY 90, and I'm gonna scale it down and move it somewhere here. Go to edit mode. We don't need this vert. Select these two, GY, and then we're going to adjust it. I'm gonna move it a little bit closer to this scene here, and move this one a bit here, and move it on X-axis into her hand, and we're gonna make this bigger. All right, there we go. Okay, that makes sense, and I'm going to actually make it of the same color. So I'm gonna borrow the matte and boom. Maybe change the matte a bit. It's not metallic, which is cool. I might actually make it a bit brighter, and maybe it's some clear coat and clear coat roughness to give it some, reflections. Page down, and we're gonna add a camera with machine tools. I have more cameras in the scene, so I'm gonna hold Alt. Zoom in a bit. Let me just make it more spacious here, and page down, lock to view. And now we have a choice, okay? Now we can position this camera. I want to position this camera a little bit from the bottom, so it's going to be shooting upwards, which is kind of cool. We could kind of crop it like this and create a bit of a, more of a dramatic shot. Actually, this might be pretty cool. And maybe that's a bit too much of a cropping. Maybe something like this would be cool. Then we could, rotate this plane a bit, so the plane's gonna be perpendicular to the edge of the camera. Page down, unlock from view. And now we can set the background. So, let's move this plane here on an X-axis, and G, XX, and move it in here. Then easy, move it out, and you know, let's see how we're looking through the camera. Now the camera is at 50mm, meaning there's gonna be a lot of background showing. We could make it a bit, you know, more tucked in. So switch, for example, to 85, which will narrow down the field of view, you know, which might not be the bad idea. So we could do something like this, right? And, you know, create a crop like that, which could also be kind of interesting, right? Something like this, okay? Now you see that she's actually, let me just unlock from view. She's actually, this leg should be a bit lower. So let's go here, grab that, and let's go to G and press O and G for proportional editing, and we're gonna drop this leg a little bit lower. So like this. So there we go, that's better. We need contact shadows here. Perfect. This looks a bit dull, so what I might do is actually might introduce some decal here. And now the way I usually work is that, you know, I'm gonna sort of frame my shot and then think if I need something to be added to the scene, okay? So usually, you know, after I frame my scene, I'm deciding whether I need more elements in a scene, because it's simply more logical to do it this way. Let's just project it, and let's change the color here to match it, or make it dark. Yeah, see, that looks a bit better. You see, that looks a bit better. Now we could design some kind of like a, you know, toolbox for her as well. Okay, well, environment, we need to scale it a bit, okay? So we need to, you know, scale it a bit, and you don't want environment to be bigger than what camera is framing, okay? And there's a very simple reason for it. We're gonna be obscuring light, okay? So we're gonna open this up, and in fact, we're gonna make it a bit taller, and then we're gonna open this up, okay? And we're going to, you know, create an infinite background here, okay? And sharpen. And let's see what our camera tells us. Okay, perfect. Let's make it a bit wider on y-axis. And this is too tall, so we can delete all these. Okay, we don't need them. In fact, we could delete faces. Perfect. This is too big as well here. If you're not gonna be putting any flooring, you know, you could just cut it out. I'm gonna be dropping some loop here. So Control R and move this loop all the way here. One more time. GG and GG and move it in here. And we don't need this, so we're gonna delete that. Cool. And we could actually, you know, trim sheet that thing, so create kind of like a flooring here and see how we're looking. So first of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch to Eevee, and I'm gonna rotate this HDRI a bit, okay? The best way to light your scene is to angle light towards the camera. So if I'm gonna go to render film and turn off the transparent, you'll see that the light is actually coming from behind the camera. That is not good, it's flat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate this thing, okay, in a way that the light is actually gonna come in from an angle. So maybe something like this, right? Now let's see what kind of lighting we're getting. That is much more interesting, okay? Much more interesting. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a plane and move it somewhere here, and we're going to RX90 and RX, and you know, make it larger and move it somewhere here, and rotate it on Z and move it somewhere here, okay, like this, right? And make it taller. Boom. So let's go back here now. Let's add some mud to it, a regular mud, okay? And we want it non-metallic. Perfect. So now let's go to cycles, and this is gonna probably push the VRAM usage quite high. 23 gigabytes. There you go. Welcome to Trim Sheets, live on the edge. Okay, so now watch. If I'm gonna move this plane closer, it's going to improve the brightness of this side here. It's gonna reflect a bit of this light back onto object. So when I'm gonna make it darker, right, you can see the difference, right? So it's gonna reflect light back on the track. Okay, it's quite important. because you want light in here, you know. Okay, well, let's you know, let's run a trial render. So let's just turn it off, and we're gonna run a render here in a viewport. It's just gonna simply save us a lot of VRAM. Computer's gonna use a lot of VRAM for rendering anyway, so not crazy about this framing, guys. This number is being cut here in the top. I'm not crazy about that. It's a bit too tight, I think, so we're gonna move it back a bit. So let's just try to frame this lock to view, and we're gonna, you know, sort of zoom out and try to frame it a little bit differently. Yeah, that's much better. We got some ground, we got some top, a bit of space here. This is pretty decent, I would say. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go here to add collection instance all, and grab this truck and, you know, move it somewhere here. And I'm going to move it on the background. There we go. And we're going to move it somewhere here. Let me see that in framing. Okay, so G, Shift Z, and, you know, move it somewhere here. RZ, and rotate it like this. Come on. That's gonna be interesting. And now we need to kind of, you know, think how deep you want this into the frame. Okay, so we're gonna have to basically render this and see how we're looking. It's gonna be very interesting. That's pretty cool, but it's sunk in, which is something we need to fix. So let's work on that. Also, this could be a different framing ratio. So let's SYY scale it and change the ratio to 3440, right? And then we're going to move a little bit further away. So let me see that lock to view and move it further away. There we go. And, you know, give it some ground. We will need to expand that. Unlock from view, go to top view, and G, Z, Z, XX, move it in here. There we go. And cool. This one is sinking, which is not good. Okay, and let's see how we're looking now. G, Shift Z, and move it in here. Okay, we could rotate it a bit more to show a bit more of a back. And I was wondering if it wouldn't be bad if I actually clip that here. Or we could rotate it completely backwards and actually try to fit the truck in a view. So RZ and do something like this and move it simply deeper into the scene. So G, Shift Z, and move it somewhere here. See how this would look. Okay, cool. G, Shift Z, and maybe crop the front here a little bit, like that. This could be interesting, right? So let's just render that now. Yeah, that is pretty cool, actually. I like that. That's pretty cool. This front is a little bit heavy, so we might actually do something else here. So let's go to Eevee. The way usually I'm rendering, okay, I'm rendering two renders. One of them is going to be a render with, you know, the trucks in the background, and the other one's going to be just the trucks, so I have an easy selection of the models if I need that in Photoshop, and most of the times I do need it, so it's a good practice to do it, okay? I'm not crazy how this is cut in here. That's going to be a tough one, hang on. I think I could move it a bit closer here to eliminate this gap. This is just me being, you know, pedantic, but G, Shift Z, do something like this, or, you know, oh, this is gonna be tough. Well, we could rotate it a bit like that, you know, to close it here, like this, and then G, Shift Z, and move it here like this, right? So this could be a bit better. The gap here is not much, but I think it's gonna be enough. The tire here is cut, which is okay. This one isn't bad. Well, let's try this one more time. Cool. Alright guys, I think, you know, this is it. I'm happy with that, so I'm gonna save that. And I'm gonna render one more without the background, so I'm going to simply disable this and render this again. Okay, so here what we're gonna do is grab this, hold shift and drop it in here and move it underneath. Because the background is so bright, it reflects a lot of light on the truck itself. I think it's a little bit too much, so what we're gonna do is we're going to actually reduce the opacity on this kind of a cutout and put a little bit of light on the bottom, but not too much, okay? This one is quite bright, but I guess it's okay. We could have put some flag on it to darken it down, but quite frankly, should be alright. We're gonna just brighten up this one. Although, yeah, I could have put some flag in here. Or what we could do is darken it down. So watch this. What we can do now is select this one as a cutout. We could go here to levels, grab this one and simply drop it down here, right? And then remove it from darker tones and only apply it to brighter tones, which are the, you know, the bright ones here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simply select the mask and we're going to exclude the left model from it. So let's alt delete, and there you go. And this one is darker and the left one is brighter. And you see, this is how you can adjust you know, brightness or darkness of your models. You can really select everything the way you want and manipulate with it in Photoshop to your liking. So now the focus is back here instead of being on this element because it's a little bit too bright, and it's bright because of the angle, the way light falls, right? This one is in darkness because the light kind of goes parallel to this element. Actually, it's obscured by this front. So okay, so now we're going to you know, Shift Alt Control and E, and I'm gonna go to Filter and Camera Raw, and I'm gonna lift the blacks and everything up a bit. So I'm going to increase the exposure on everything, lift the shadows, right, and increase the clarity. Maybe shadows are a bit too open, and open the blacks a bit. Alright, and then we're gonna run some infinite color. Oh, the blue one is nice, kind of military like. This one is actually pretty cool, I like that. So let's go for Color Efex Pro. Let's go with Pro Contrast, pump it a little bit like that. That's really cool. Now what we also could do is darken the background on the bottom. So we could select these trucks again. So control click on the trucks and, you know, levels or curves, doesn't matter, it's the same thing basically. Well, not the same thing, but it's close. Drop this down here and then invert it so it affects only the background. Right, drop it down again a little bit more like this, okay. And then simply run a gradient from the top with Shift. Remove it from the top and just leave it in the bottom. So bottom is darker and the top is brighter. So it simply grounds everything a bit more, if you see what I mean. It just grounds it. And you don't have to go so crazy on it. You can go lighter on it, so there's a slight difference. Let's go here and grab some cross processing. It's one of my favorite filters, the Unique Collection. I fucking love this filter. That is pretty badass, to be honest. I'm gonna go with this. And this one is cool as well. Maybe this one is better. It's a bit strong though on shadows, so I might actually remove it from the shadows. That is pretty interesting, to be honest. Let me see that. I actually prefer this one. I think this one is really cool. It's a bit dark on the on here, on this, you know, on the black tones. It's pretty dim, to be honest. Infinite Color ran some really hard black tones in here, but we could always, you know, lift it up a bit on the blacks here, and it's gonna be okay, and open the shadows a bit, just a little bit, you know. Boom. You could adjust the fill. I think this is pretty cool. So we can save it and we're done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.